Okay. Hello everybody. My name is Tiffany. I am a board certified and licensed nutritionist, and I am speaking to you today about some back to basics nutrition. And in fact, I talked to many people today on my one-on-one calls about this because we're all, I think, trying to figure out the magic solution to recomping our body or losing the fat or whatever it is that is our goals. We tend to think there's some, fancy solution, and sometimes it's just getting back to basics. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Let's see here. Okay. Think everybody's in now. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is again that back to basics, and we're going to talk about fueling our fat loss, building lean muscle, and then boosting your energy. Now, the people that I work with basically in my practice are people that maybe are just trying to recomp their body, and then other people that have some metabolic conditions that have been diagnosed either with thyroid issues. They run the gamut between, autoimmune conditions or hypothyroidism, but for sure, a lot of Hashimoto's, a lot of hormonal imbalances with women going through perimenopause, and, men go through some hormonal changes as well, and just looking at how to optimize their health through like functional medical nutrition. So looking at it from a little bit different lens than just calories in, calories out, because if you've ever done that before, you've probably seen that isn't the most successful option for getting you to your goals. So we need to look at things a little bit differently. All right, so basically, we are talking about this today because you're working hard, and so why aren't you seeing results? And maybe, I don't know where you are in your journey with ferals, but you probably have done some other kind of program or some other kind of workout and felt like the efforts weren't paying off. This is a very common thing, and we need to kind of figure out why that is and then do something different rather than just doubling down and doing it more extreme, because that usually doesn't give us the results what we want. So you're working hard, not seeing the results, and you're not losing the fat. You might still have energy crashes. You might still feel like you're constantly hungry or craving, and you feel like you're doing everything right, but nothing works. It feels like nothing works. And so it's not the effort, it's just your nutritional foundation that needs to be tweaked. And this is where the functional medical nutrition comes into play. So what you'll learn today is basically the 5 things that matter most, what actually drives fat loss. It's not just calories. And we're going to look at how we eat for energy and performance, and what to stop doing immediately. And that could be there could be a few different things. So I'll do my best to stay on task. And if you have questions, I should have said this before, if you have questions as we're going through this, just unmute yourself and ask away, interrupt me if I'm not seeing it, in the comments, because I have my whole screen up. So make sure to let me know, and there'll also be time at the end in case you do have some questions. All right, let's get started. So one thing I think we have to kind of understand is that our fat loss is not just a result of calories in, calories out. It would be really nice if that math worked out that way, where you probably have been told at one point in your life you just need to eat less calories and exercise more, and that magically will solve all the problems and get you to the weight or the goal weight or fat loss or muscle mass or whatever it is your goal, that's how that will happen. Now, if you have any of those things that I mentioned before, any kind of autoimmune condition, any kind of hormonal imbalance, that's going to make this process a little bit more difficult. I feel like I have worked with, I don't know, a handful, maybe less than a handful of people who actually could dial in their calories and then reduce the calories through either diet or exercise by 500 calories a day. And over a week's time, that equals 1 pound of fat. I have seen that happen less than a handful of times. That's the math from that, by the way. Supposedly 3,500 calories excess equals 1 pound of fat. So you would assume if you just reduce your calorie intake via food intake and or energy expenditure by 3,500 calories, you would lose a pound of fat. And that does not always happen because of those things that I have just mentioned. So your hormones matter, your blood sugar matters. That's a big thing, even if you have not been diagnosed with insulin resistance or type 2 or type 1 diabetes, your blood sugar absolutely matters. You, are you saying you can't hear, Paula? Can everybody hear me?
I can.
Yes.
Yes. Yep,
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I thought someone was saying that they couldn't hear me. Thank you. Um, I don't know, Paula, if you're talking to me, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Okay. All right. Okay, so blood muscle matters as well. And a lot of times when people are doing a lot of restrictive dieting or like a chronic dieting history, maybe they've over-exercised, undernourished, we lose muscle, and that has a huge impact on your ability to lose fat. But you are doing these workouts, you should be probably building that muscle pretty easily. That's the point of this, or part of the point of it. And then your stress matters. People live in chronic fight or flight. That cortisol is imbalanced, it's elevated, you're not sleeping well, and that makes it a lot harder to get into fat stores. So those are some foundational things that need to be set up. This is kind of what I do in all my one-on-ones and in my group programs and things too, because it is sort of a foundational thing. It's not, again, just about calories in, calories out. It's a lot bigger than that for most people, especially if you're past the age of 30, 35, 40, something like that. It just, all these things matter just a little bit more. So your body isn't just a calculator, it's a whole system and everything works together. And, we need to make sure that we are, you know, getting it all in check before we can get the results that we're looking for. Okay, so your nutritional foundation, we need to, again, stabilize that blood sugar. Prioritize protein, good quality proteins, by the way, reduce inflammation, support your gut health, and increase nutrient intake. I would love to get into every aspect of these things, pretty deeply tonight, but we won't have time for all that. But I will gladly ask questions if anything comes up. I do tons of stuff with gut health and it's pretty key critical to helping your body do what it's supposed to do with your metabolism things. And so I can talk about some high level things with that, but it's super important. If your gut is not healthy, then it's really hard for the rest of you to be healthy. So it's definitely a foundational thing for your health for sure. First thing we do is we need to understand our macronutrients, okay? Our macronutrients. And this helps us with those foundational things that I just mentioned. So we need to understand what proteins are as a macronutrient. This is more of what I would say is called your functional macronutrient. Your proteins build your immune system. They help build your bones, your muscles. They help build your hormones, your skin, your hair, your nails, all of those foundational things. I can't remember if I just said it, your immune system. It builds those antibodies to fight against infection. Proteins are so important. Oh, they transport things. They transport hemoglobin around your body and among other things. They are so important, and it's something that we have kind of neglected over time. We've been hyper focused on fats or carbohydrates. Nobody really talks about protein until, I don't know why, but just recent years it seems like. And we need to make sure we get enough protein to do all of these things we need to do to, allow our body to function properly. We can get them from animal proteins. Those are going to be the most, I guess, the most direct form of protein in order to fuel your body. And I mean direct because they are a complete protein, considered a complete protein, because they contain all the essential amino acids. When you eat plant proteins, they're considered incomplete. They don't have all the amino acids. There's a few that do. I'm pretty sure quinoa, I think quinoa is considered a complete protein, has all the amino acids. But there are other plant proteins that need to be combined with other plants in order to complete, and that's why people eat beans and rice together, and that's how you do a complete protein. But if you have any kind of blood sugar dysregulation, eating those types of proteins that also have a lot of carbohydrates, if your body can't tolerate those as well, it may make fat loss a little bit more difficult, or building lean muscle might make it a little bit more difficult if you have this imbalanced blood sugar. And then we have mixed proteins, and I kind of put that in there because a lot of times people will, say I got my protein from peanut butter or something like that. Well, that you can't really count that as like a main protein, because there's also a lot of fat, there's also a lot of carbohydrates with it. Yes, there's some protein, but you have to have a huge amount of it to get enough protein that we need. So you can't have that as your isolated protein source for a meal. Just saying this because I've heard people do that. It's nice, as an added protein to add into things, but don't rely on it for a meal, as an example. Now, proteins have 4 calories per gram. Okay, proteins have 4 calories per gram. And I highlight this as well because I've worked with people and, tried to say they're trying to lose weight, and I'll tell them they need to eat more protein. So they eat more protein and they come back to me and say, I gained weight from, I added so much protein, I gained so much weight. And I found out how much protein they added, and it was really only amounted to maybe another 100 to 120 calories max of what they were eating from protein calories. And then we find out that they were eating a lot of processed protein, protein chips and protein pancakes and protein, whatever, all those different greenwashed kind of foods that are processed. And yes, they have protein in them, but they're not really, whole food protein. So just one caveat on that, go ahead and use those as a tool, but don't use it as your day-to-day thing. Try to get these things from whole food sources as much as possible. Then we need to go into carbohydrates, something that's been demonized for sure. But what I'm saying to avoid, I will demonize ultra processed carbohydrates. We're talking things like Little Debbie's and commercially processed and made, donuts and pastries and things like that. I'm not talking about whole grains, breads made from whole grains, fruits, veggies. I'm not talking about those as far as things that aren't going to contribute to your goals. If you are focused on processed foods or ultra processed carbohydrates, this is going to take away from your goals for sure. It's going to make your goals a lot harder to achieve by eating those types of foods, because it will mess with your blood sugar. It will cause more inflammation in your body. It's just working against you. Carbohydrates, though, also have 4 calories per gram, but how they act in your body is very different from the 4 calories per gram of proteins. Proteins are satisfying, they keep you sated longer, they balance your blood sugar. Carbohydrates, on the other hand, you kind of burn through them a little bit more quickly. They don't stay with you as long. And if they're not combined with a protein or a fat, you're for sure going to have a blood sugar and a glucose and insulin dysregulation that comes with that. So you need to combine your carbohydrates with a protein and or a fat. Basically, the rule of thumb is to never eat a naked carb. Okay, never have just a banana or just a piece of bread or just an apple. That's where you could maybe put your peanut butter with some apple to help mitigate that blood sugar that comes from that apple. Um, and then that's what I would say, is to start with your protein when you're composing your meals. So here's kind of a quick takeaway, is to start with protein when you're planning your meals. And I know this is a little different than what Farrell's maybe recommends, but I'm always telling people we need to get to the place where we're able to have 3 main meals a day. And if you're actually physiologically or physically hungry, versus just having a snack just to have a snack or to get to a certain number of calories or whatever, because that kind of can keep our blood sugar doing this. We want to have our blood sugar a lot more smooth through the day, and that happens when we eat more steady, robust, nicely balanced meals. So you want to compose those meals starting with protein first. Okay, so look at your day, plan out about what's my protein going to be for breakfast, what's going to be for lunch, etc. And then add in the foods, the other macros around that. So that's what I want you to take away from this. Protein first. I guarantee that if you prioritize eating protein, and we'll talk about the amount in a little bit, you will not feel like you have the room for the junk foods and stuff like that. The processed foods that are maybe more habits and snacks like at nighttime, watching TV, that kind of thing. If you are full and sated from good quality protein throughout the day, that stuff becomes a lot less intriguing. Your cravings are improved just with that alone. Plant proteins, so that's going to look like legumes, lentils, tofu, edamame, quinoa, and other grains, anything like that. There's going to be some protein in some of those other grains. But if you know you have some insulin resistance, what you want to do with these types of proteins are just maybe have smaller portions of them and maybe eat them earlier in the day. If you can, if it makes more sense for you to eat them at dinner time on occasion, that's fine. But try to have them for your lunch or with your lunch versus at nighttime, because at nighttime, just this is a little tip when we're talking about blood sugar. So again, even if you don't have a diagnosis of insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, something like that, you're going to want to make sure that you are eating foods later on in the day that you are able to process. We are less sensitive to insulin the later the day goes on. That's just because of our circadian rhythm. It doesn't matter if you have a blood sugar problem or not. It's just how our bodies are designed. Some can handle it better than others. But I would say if you're going to include lots of grains and things like beans and things like that, and you know that you don't handle them well, have them earlier in the day. Okay, so let's talk about that protein again for getting your goals down. Start with getting 100 grams per day. That would be the ideal, and I'll tell you why. Um, but also, if you feel like you're nowhere near 100 grams and you're maybe at 50, then I would say start with where you're at and make it better, right? Start with if you're at 50 grams and then just keep building an ounce here and there from breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you add another ounce of protein at each meal, you're going to slowly get yourself up to that 100 grams minimum. Now, the reason why 100 grams is kind of the magic number for this is because that ensures that the protein that you're consuming from your foods includes a couple specific amino acids. One of them is primarily leucine, it's called. And when we have enough of that amino acid, that allows our muscles to synthesize. So it stimulates something called muscle protein synthesis, and then it helps our muscles stay with what we, like keep the muscles we have, basically. So you want to be able to maintain the skeletal muscle that you have. You do not want to lose your muscle. That will have your metabolism downshift into low gear. And I see this a lot lately with people who have done very restrictive, popular diets that are going around the area. And we are doing everything we can now to rebuild their metabolism after 2 years of super low calorie, low protein eating. And it's really it's a struggle because now people have to refeed themselves, refuel themselves, build their body back up. But this is after a huge rebound weight gain. So just a little cautionary tale with that. Making sure that you're getting ample amount of protein and enough calories is really important. Most times, I said I'm not really a calories in, calories out type of person when we're talking about this because it doesn't always calculate the way we think it will. What I see most of the time is that people are eating too little calories. That's what I'm seeing lately, a lot of actually. Okay, so 100 grams would be your first goal. If you're not there yet, that's fine. Just build to that. And I know a lot of times people, as they're doing this, are saying, "Oh, I'm too full. I can't possibly eat that much." But then people often find a way to fit in skinny pop or 100-calorie packs or things like that. But if you fill up on protein first, those things don't seem as appealing. So you will get there if you're able to get that protein dialed in. Now, your ideal and or end goal kind of goal for protein would be 1 gram per pound of ideal lean body weight. Now, if you don't know what your ideal lean body weight is, just take a guess. Like where have you been where you feel like you were at a great weight, where you didn't have to bust your butt at the gym, where you didn't have to starve yourself to be there, where you felt lean and healthy? What was that weight? I don't care if it was 20 years ago. I don't care if it was 3 years ago. Where do you think is a good weight for you? And if you've never been there, which is something that I have, um, talked to many people about, and they've been like, I have no idea. I've just always been extremely overweight. I don't even know where to start with that. So then we just kind of go with what kind of works with their height and maybe their age and that kind of thing, and just get a kind of an idea of what that might be. And it's just a number to shoot for. So if your ideal lean body weight is 150 pounds, then you would want to shoot for I'm going to give a range like 130 to 150 grams of protein. So this ideal 1 gram per pound of ideal lean body weight, that's for helping you build muscle and lean out. That's how you're going to lose fat and recomp your body. But you can stick with a range of 0.8 grams per pound to 1 gram per pound of ideal lean body weight. So we don't have to work in absolutes, except I want you to be absolutely getting to 100 grams a day. But the absolutes of your ideal lean body weight, we need to have a fluctuation in that so that we don't become like we can't sustain it and then it just becomes too hard. So give yourself a range. Um, then we can do this easily by sort of dividing your total goal of grams per a protein by 3 meals. And so I'm going to say that most people are going to go between that 30 and 50 grams. If you are a man and, if you're like just a larger man and your ideal protein goal or your ideal weight is 220 pounds, do you have to eat 220 grams of protein? No. That might not feel the greatest, especially just starting out, but you're going to want to be maybe up in that 150 gram and maybe above range. Now, one caveat, if you have been diagnosed with a kidney disease, or something like that, where your doctor has said you absolutely cannot eat more than X grams of protein, then that's what you listen to, not what I'm telling you here. Okay, so people who are in stage 3 chronic kidney disease cannot eat more than 30 grams of protein sometimes, depending on their situation. So just be mindful of that. I'm talking about people who are free and clear to eat the protein. So the goal is to take your total grams of protein, divide by 3, and maybe you need a snack, so you have like half, like it's basically half the size of a meal, and that's your snack. And that's how you maybe eat 4 times a day. I know I think I was going to say this before. I believe Farrell's used to say to eat like 5 or 6 meals a day, and that's to give steady energy. And on your days where you're working out, which I know is several days a week, maybe you're going to feel like you need that. What I would say that you need to do is to eventually get to a space where you have balanced, composed meals so you're not feeling like you have to eat all the time. That just keeps the blood sugar and insulin process going over and over and over again. And that just causes more stress in the body. It causes more insulin resistant down the road. It causes inflammation in the body. So especially if you're eating processed things just to get a snack in. So if you're going to have snacks, make sure they're good quality snacks. And then prioritize resistance training, because now you're getting the protein in. Let's build the muscle. So you gotta move the muscle. You gotta build the muscle, and that amount of protein intake will help with hypertrophy. So meaning the building of the muscle, and that is the goal at the end of the day. So that you're able to lose the fat. The more muscle you have, the better metabolic rate you have, the better you handle glucose, and the better your body composition will be. And I know you do the body comp tests with the InBody, unless that's changed since I did these classes a couple months ago. But the InBody will tell you if you are losing muscle, and that's a no-go. If you're losing muscle, you're either under fueling or overtraining or a combination of both. So make sure you get that figured out. Let's look at the other macronutrients. We talked about proteins and carbohydrates. But let's talk about fats and alcohol. Fats, um, we can get it from animal products. It kind of built into some of our animal products, like salmon, for example. They're healthy omega-3 fatty acids that are found there. We can get it from different oils like avocados, avocado oils, olive oils, things like that are really good to have in your diet. Of course, there's fats from processed foods. That's the kind of fat we want to avoid. Those are called trans fatty acids. They're actually damaging to your cells, and it's better to eat food or oils and fats from foods that you can actually identify, like nuts and seeds and that kind of thing. Fats have 9 calories per gram. Okay, so they have over double the amount of energy from eating one serving of them. So that's why fat has been something that has been demonized over time. There was, I don't know, was it the 90s where we were told to not eat any fat? We need fat for our brain. We need fat for hormone production. We need fat for nutrient absorption. They're very important. It's just that we should be demonizing the ultra processed fats, not, like Crisco, for example. Those are not good fats for us. But we should not be demonizing things like olive oil as a fat. Then we look at alcohol. I don't even really like to consider this a macronutrient, but technically it is. It has 7 calories per gram. Offers very, very little in nutritional value, so I really don't need to talk about this too much. But obviously, beer, wine, hard liquor, seltzers, anything like that. What alcohol does do though, if you are working out very hard and diligently at the gym and you're getting your nutrition dialed in, but every weekend, Friday and Saturday, or maybe sometimes even during the week, you're having a glass of wine to wind down, as long as there is alcohol in your system, that becomes priority fuel for your body to get out of your system because it is a literal toxin, it's a poison, and your body makes that a priority to get rid of it. It's not getting into your fat stores as long as alcohol is present. That's why alcohol can kind of keep you from your goals. If you're doing it occasionally, it's probably not going to have a huge factor on you. But what I would do if this is a part of your life, if you're trying to get to have certain goals with your body composition, that's one thing you could pull away, even cut in half, whatever that is for you, and just see what a difference it makes for you. Because it will cause issues with triglyceride levels. It will cause inflammation in the body. It will cause more stress hormone, the cortisol in your system because your sleep now has been affected. So, I mean, truly, aside from the social aspect or maybe the fun that you're doing or things you're out and about doing while you're consuming alcohol, it's not doing anything for us, physiologically. It's actually taking away from us. So I just wanted to put that out there. I've seen a lot of people working their butts off at the gym and their diet, but they have a hard time giving up some of these things on the weekends or weeknights sometimes, and it really does keep them from getting to their goals. Okay, so we need to start with that protein and then add the carbohydrates and fats, right? So if you can start, if you're not sure how your body responds to carbohydrates, if you're not sure how dysregulated your glucose and insulin may be, or maybe not, if you're not sure, just start with a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you have determined that your protein intake should be, let's just use the 100 grams, then you could shoot for a 100-gram intake of carbohydrates. So you'd have 100 grams protein, 100 grams of carbohydrates, of good quality carbohydrates. This is that 1-to-1 ratio, and see what happens. You can fluctuate these two. I would always fluctuate the protein up versus down, depending on, how you're feeling. And you could tweak the carbohydrate up and down according to maybe how intense your workouts are for that day or that week or whatever it may be. If you are like not feeling great, you're kind of under the weather and you're still going to the gym, maybe this is where you for sure don't back off on nutrients. You keep your levels up. And then you're going to round it out with healthy fats. A tablespoon or two is a good serving of a healthy fat. Sometimes, like I said, it's embedded into the foods that you're eating, like steak or salmon, things like that. They come with their fat. You also cook with it. But it's good fuel for your muscles. It's good fuel for your brain. Just drink or just eat the whole food versions of these things, not the highly processed oils like the Crisco and that kind of thing. Even though our grandmas say that they make the best flaky pie crust or something, it's not good for our cells at all. Okay, here's some common mistakes that I see happen. These are kind of the top nutrition mistakes, is not eating enough protein. This happens over and over again, no matter how many times you talk about it with individuals. This seems like the most difficult thing for them. And I don't know why. I think it's just getting used to it and tracking it. So I would say if you're going to start tracking foods, probably just track protein to start. And like I said, I guarantee if you dial up your protein, your desire for other foods that are maybe less healthy are going to diminish over time for sure. Don't skip meals. And that might be a little contrary to the all the information out there. And it was kind of a craze for a while with the intermittent fasting. And don't get me wrong, I love intermittent fasting for therapeutic reasons, but I've seen so many people do that too too much and too often that I've seen where people have kind of basically it looks like a restricted calorie diet because they've done it so much if they're only eating one meal a day or maybe two meals a day. So right now, especially when you're doing these pretty intense workouts, 5 or 6 days a week, you need to fuel. So don't skip those meals. Make sure you're getting that because it's going to be hard to get, say, 120 grams of protein in if you are only eating 50 and you're only at two meals a day. It's going to be really hard to get 120 in two meals. So you just got to work towards it. Just start with where you're at and make it better. Um, we also often will overdo healthy carbs, so people will, I don't know, like oatmeal, for example. Oatmeal, I guess, can be considered a healthy grain, but for some people it's not. And you might be overdoing it because it's low in fat and it's good fiber and it keeps you full and all that stuff, but it may not be working for you if you overdo it all the time. And that would be another trap that people fall into is if they're doing like gluten-free foods or something like that, and they do gluten-free versions of the regular processed versions. So like Eggo waffles or frozen toaster waffles, they'll just buy gluten-free versions if they're trying to do that. That's not healthier. It's actually more sugary. It turns to more sugar than the regular ones. Unless you're celiac, you have to do the gluten-free ones. But we could overdo things that we think are healthy that are sort of greenwashed by the labels and say that they're natural and they've got protein in them and all this stuff. Don't fall for it. Just try to eat regular foods most often. And like I said, undereating is one of the top things I'm seeing. Everybody thinks they're overeating. I had a 5'10" female who is, I don't know, she's around 200 pounds. She's trying to get to 150 or 160. And she tracked her food and she assumed that she was overeating. And she said she was overeating because she was eating 1,400 calories a day and she thought she should be eating 1,200 calories a day. For her, I mean, just the fact that she's 5'10", um, like she just needs more calories than that. So we're sort of reverse dieting with her and she's starting to drop weight now by eating more calories and more healthy foods. So don't undereat, especially with your workouts at Farrell's. Okay, so the healthy but not working trap. So I find people will do smoothies but their smoothies turn out to be basically a glass of sugar because they're doing like the yogurt and that's not like the non-fat Greek. It doesn't have to be non-fat, but it's like the Greek yogurt, not even the Greek yogurt. It's like the flavored kinds. They have artificial sweeteners in them, or they pour honey in them, or juice. They put the yogurt and the juice, and then they put, frozen fruit and whatever, and it's no protein, basically no protein or very little protein. So they make those basically like fruit smoothies with nothing else in it. The frozen, I can't remember what they're called, but they're like the smoothie bowls that there's all those shops around our area. Again, as a treat or as like an anomaly, that's fine, but don't think that those are healthy for you. They're full of sugar. That sorbet, I think a sorbet is full of sugar. And even if you put some of the protein that they can put in there, it's not really a great quality protein and it's causing a lot of blood sugar spikes. Eating oatmeal alone or something like that alone, like cereals and that kind of thing, it's all converts into sugar. So you're going to want to put some kind of like protein powder in there. You're going to want to put, at minimum, maybe some peanut butter put in there. So there's some fat and a little bit of protein in there to help mitigate the blood sugar spike from the oatmeal in and of itself. Just eating a salad with no protein, like a lot of people will get Caesar salads or something when they're out and about and there's no protein on there. I mean, you could argue maybe a little bit with the Parmesan cheese, but that's just not quite enough. And then eating snack foods all day because you're trying to eat all day long to keep your metabolism up. That was the old school thinking. And that just got people, staying stuck where they're at. Okay, so here's an example menu of, it's just something to look at, but this is how meals should be composed. Three medium eggs. Everybody uses two eggs for some reason. Two strips of bacon, even the regular bacon. And maybe you cook the eggs in oil. Maybe you cook the bacon first and then just cook the eggs in the little bit of the bacon grease. So you don't even have to add more oil. Saute some veggies in there. You can buy frozen bags of diced vegetables and saute it right in there. And then add some berries. That is going to be a well-rounded breakfast. You could add, maybe you need a slice of toast or some kind of muffin, like a not muffin, like English muffin is what I meant to say. Something like that for a different carbohydrate in there, especially on those heavier workout days. This would be a great meal. It's 34 grams of protein as this is written. You can add more if you need, but that would be a good way to start. If you ate something like this in the morning versus skipping a breakfast, you're going to feel more satisfied. You're going to have better energy throughout the day. You're not going to have the cravings, and you're going to start to feel stronger and more level throughout the day. A lunch example could be a good helping of a leftover steak that you maybe grilled. We're getting into grilling season, thank goodness. If you got a 5 ounce of leftover steak, that's going to be 40 grams right there. Add some kind of salad, a green salad. You can whip up a homemade dressing super easily. Shake it up in a mason jar with the seasonings you like, vinegar, olive oil, or whatever oil you like. And there's your fat. And you can also add a complex carb if you want to put in that salad some quinoa or some rice or beans or something like that. You can add to that and up the nutrient value of that meal. And then for dinner, a nice healthy serving of chicken breast, 7 ounces will give you almost 50 grams of protein right there. And then mixed roasted vegetables. You can do starchy carbs. You can do regular veggies like broccoli and that kind of thing. And then, cook them in avocado oil, roast them however you like them. These are just simple, nutritious, don't take a lot of time types of meals that you can do. And it will keep you satisfied. It'll be full. It'll help you get to your goals when it comes to recomping your body. I actually wanted to go back to something else. First, does anybody have any questions?
I do. With the eggs,
Yeah.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. I was diagnosed with my cholesterol being a little bit too high, not terrible at 230. Need to bring it down. I eat boiled eggs during the day, or I'll come home after a workout and have scrambled eggs with mushrooms and bell peppers.
Mhm.
So if I eat two eggs and the cholesterol's high on them, how many eggs should I only be eating in a day? Should I only just stick to the two, or could I have more? Because sometimes I have my salad in the evening with dinner, and to get more protein in, I'll put an egg on top. So just wondering how many
Yeah.
eggs I should be consuming.
Has your doctor, cardiologist, or someone told you not to eat eggs or not to eat a certain amount?
No. They just told me that I needed to work on getting my cholesterol down, so that's why I've just been cleaning things up.
Mhm.
But was told that maybe I'm overeating because sometimes I'll eat two boiled eggs, for a snack at some point throughout the day, or have some on my salad, or have 2 scrambled eggs. It was 3 scrambled eggs.
Mhm.
So I'm just, sometimes I would consume up to, anywhere from 4 to 6 eggs a day.
Okay.
Is that a
So
must?
so the conventional wisdom says that, because the egg yolk is where some of the cholesterol is going to be.
Right.
But there's lots of research and data out there showing that dietary cholesterol doesn't directly affect
It's,
the cholesterol in our body, as far as like plaque buildup and that kind of thing, which is obviously the concern.
right.
So what I would say is, if you wanted to change it up, you can certainly do that. If you were to do like a scramble, maybe you have, I don't know what
Morning.
you do for your, okay, but if you do a scrambled eggs, how do you make them? If you just do a scrambled eggs for yourself, how many
I'll do a
eggs?
teaspoon of avocado oil and I'll scramble them in the pan, and then I'll put the mushrooms and bell peppers on it. And then sometimes for an afternoon snack, after having snacks and lunch and all of that, I might have 2 boiled eggs just on there, to protein, and then have half of an apple for a carb and a
Mhm.
bit of peanut butter to balance it all out.
Okay.
And then I might put the egg on the salad in the evening. But I mean, that's not every day. It's
Okay.
not every, yeah.
So what I would say, if you're making your scrambled eggs with say 2 eggs and you wanted to get more protein, potentially you could do 1 egg and you can get those cartons of egg whites, and you could
Okay.
add some of that in there to get that protein in.
Okay.
Or maybe that goes into one of the other meals, so you feel like you're not eating that many eggs in a day. I would
Okay.
say it sounds like you eat pretty clean. So if you're getting your eggs from maybe like a local farm source
No,
or
I get
something.
the
Okay.
organic ones from Sam's.
Okay. Okay, so
Yeah.
that's better too.
Yeah.
So a lot of the cholesterol issues that we have, and I don't know anything else about you, obviously, with age and other pre-existing conditions and all, but the reason why there's an increase in cholesterol sometimes, especially after certain ages, is if our hormones are changing. There's not, especially for like dropping hormones like estrogen,
Hmm.
for example, then our cholesterol is what help in part makes those hormones. So now we have less
Okay.
need for that cholesterol. So cholesterol raises,
Will
right?
be a bit
Um,
higher.
and then also like from inflammatory conditions. So it seems like your food is dialed in, just those examples you gave. They're nice, clean, anti-inflammatory foods for the most part. And so inflammation drives the production of cholesterol. Our liver responds to inflammation in the body by producing cholesterol to like put out the fire, so to speak.
Okay.
So I feel like you're doing a lot of those things. Maybe it's something you could do. I don't, again, I don't know your whole situation, but maybe
Sure.
hormone checking might need to be looked at. And often, like for myself, I know I had normal cholesterol. All of a sudden, it just spiked, and it was because I had thyroid issues. I ended up with thyroid cancer, but it was an
Uh,
imbalance of thyroid
oh
and
God.
hormones. And so once I got on the right medications for that, my cholesterol leveled out. I'm not
Right
saying
back
it's
to normal.
100% a direct correlation, but it all works together. So,
Right. Well, I'm 58 and postmenopausal
okay,
for a long
that
time.
yeah, so that could be a big factor in that. I'm not saying it's
Right.
everything. I'm not saying you shouldn't worry, or not consider it and do what you're doing to work with it. But I think if you wanted to switch it up and see, just add some egg whites to one of those
Okay.
dishes and see if that makes a difference for you. And I don't know, it just seems like some of the other things you're doing are really helpful. Get your fibers in, that will help with
Yeah.
cholesterol too.
And that was my other question. Sometimes I'll do hot breakfast versus cold, and I'll do a chia brekkie bowl.
Mhm.
So when I mix my chia with unsweetened coconut milk,
Yeah.
um, I don't have any smell or taste due to COVID, so it doesn't really matter what I use. I have had almond milk before, and I didn't care for it, but now I can't taste it, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
But I do like coconut. So I do my chia and I'll make enough for a whole week. So my question is, once it's all gelled up and everything, how much should I be putting in my bowl? Because when I do eat those brekkie bowls, and I'll put in a scoop of protein powder, because
Mhm,
I do know it's it's 10 grams of fiber in
mhm.
it, but I know it is a fat more than a carb. So how much should I be doing? A half a cup wet form from the coconut milk into my bowl. And then I put a little bit of slivered almonds on it,
Okay.
and a little bit of unsweetened coconut, shredded coconut.
Okay, so you're asking how much chia to put into that, or
Yeah,
how?
so in a wet form, once I've mixed it with the coconut milk, I'm a little confused because I make enough for a week's worth of breakfast so
Yeah,
that it's just easy peasy.
yeah.
And I'm just confused about once it's in a wet form, do I do half a cup of chia and then a scoop of protein powder? I'm just not sure how much I'm supposed to do.
Well, when I think of a chia serving size, I would say like 1 to 2 tablespoons. So, as it expands, I don't like how much, think about how much you're making for the week, how many tablespoons
Right.
you're using. But that would give you the good fiber, the good omegas. It would be like it's only like I think that would be like 4.5, 4 grams
I
of fat, something like that.
believe a quarter a cup of dry chia is equal to 2 servings.
To two
Let me
servings.
let
Yeah.
me let me go grab it, because I tend to find that when I do eat chia,
Uh-huh.
I'm not looking for anything else at all
No.
for the rest of the day, because I am so full from all that fiber.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and that is really good for, the cholesterol. So cholesterol support and things like that, not to mention your gut health, the fatty
right.
acids that are going in there. So that's really good to do. Um, so you're using a fourth a cup to make it.
Yeah, so it says quarter of a cup. And it can be with a half a cup of coconut milk. Hang on, I've got it written down. I had to grab the recipe.
But basically, a fourth a cup of chia seeds would have about,
Is considered 2 servings,
yep, and it would be like 16
but
grams of
that's
fat.
dry. So that would be a dry serving.
Yeah.
Breakfast.
So you're not
So
getting a full quarter cup. I mean, you're dividing it between like 5 servings or 7 servings, or what are you doing?
so what I'm calculating is quarter of a cup is 2 servings. So I end up doing a cup, a cup and a half of chia. And then I add in half a cup of coconut. It says cream, but I prefer the milk. It's a little bit too thick and creamy for me.
Hmm.
Or you can do half a cup of coconut up to a 1 cup. And I like mine a little bit runnier than thicker.
Hmm.
And that will last me for a whole week once I combine everything.
Okay. Okay.
So half a cup of chia, and I do 1 cup of coconut milk.
Okay.
Per, so if it's 2 servings, so 2, 4. So I'm doing half a cup of chia to 1 cup of coconut milk. So do that 2 more times.
Okay.
So I guess it would be 3 cups, 3 cups
Yeah.
of coconut milk, and 3/4 of a cup of chia.
Okay.
2, 4, 6.
Yeah.
So quarter cup of chia to 1 cup of milk, times that by 3. So 3 cups of milk and 3/4 cup of chia.
Okay. So that to me looks like about just a quick calculation, about 7 grams of fat and about 8 to 9 grams fiber. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
It's
So once,
lower in protein, so that it's the fat and fiber that are keeping you full.
oh my gosh, yes, I can eat that at 7 o'clock in the morning and not look for food. I'm not even hungry at 6 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with doing that, so once that's mixed though, am I would I be serving myself a quarter a cup or a half a cup wet?
Um, if you,
It,
yeah, if you just, what you told me, if you divided that by seven, that would be like a little less than a half of a cup.
okay, that's what okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't yeah, I've been doing about a little over quarter of a cup. So okay,
Mhm.
so that's good then. Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
No,
Awesome.
that's a good thing to add in there, especially when you're looking at cholesterol and things like that, and just helping that out. But everything you can do to keep the inflammation down, keeps, stress down as much as possible. That's kind of the way that that cholesterol is going to help. I mean, unless there's some familial thing with hypercholesterolemia and high triglycerides and things like that. But it's from there's some family genetics that can play
There
into
is.
that for sure.
Yes.
So that might. I'm just giving you the very general examples of what to do with that. But yeah, so that I don't know. I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it was actually. Thank you very much. I was a
Yeah,
little confused about that.
no problem. You're welcome.
So
Anybody
back to
else?
eggs.
Oh.
So if I was to eat any up to four a day would be okay
I
throughout
think
the day?
so. Yeah, I
Okay.
think so. But if you talk to a cardiologist someday and they
No,
say
I haven't.
that's
I
okay,
don't have one, but
okay. Well, if you do and they say that's ridiculous, then go by with what they're saying. I just um know that I don't know.
yeah,
I don't know.
I had heard that eggs would debunk too. They're
Yeah, and
good
I
for
think
you.
there's even another study out there. There's so much in that yolk of an egg. There's choline and inositol and lots of B vitamins, and there's so many good things in there.
Nutrients.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then the egg white is like the purest protein we have. There's so much good about them, but just like everything, too much of a good thing can be a bad
Yes.
thing, like
Yeah.
anything. But I just think, especially if any of these foods, a lot of people have that same thought about like red meat and stuff. And a lot of the studies that were done on red meat, where people are eating just tons of conventionally raised, highly inflammatory, poor quality meats and not any
Hmm.
fiber or antioxidants in plants and like berries and vegetables and things like that. And so we have to look at the whole picture.
Picture. Yeah.
We have to kind of take everything into account. A lot of times the studies, the takeaways from them are like the scary things, and nobody really looks at the whole picture and like how was the study done and what was studied and what were they eating and how what else was going
Okay.
on in their life. That kind of thing is what we have to
Yeah.
look
Well,
at.
we've
So
switched over to grass-fed meats.
mhm,
We do a lot of those. And
mhm.
then the other thing that I was curious to know, we do grass-fed butter, the Kerrygold, but I had
Yeah.
heard something about that we shouldn't be eating that.
Why is that? Like, what do
I
you
don't
mean?
know. They just said it's not good for you. And I'm like, but
Well,
why? It's grass-fed.
I have never heard that about Kerrygold.
Yeah, good old YouTube University. Gotta love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
Too much misinformation out there.
yeah, I've never heard that about Kerrygold
Okay.
specifically, other than if a lot of people still believe that, butter is bad for you and margarine would be better
No.
because it's
Oh
plant-based.
God, no.
Yeah, so I've never heard that specifically about Kerrygold, but if you want to know information more like this on YouTube, you can go to my channel.
Yeah,
Um, I
I
rock,
will be now.
I
Now
rock
can I
wilderness.
take while I'm
Yeah,
talking to you, can I take a screenshot of this? Will it
absolutely.
screenshot?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'll lose you. I hope to God I
Yep,
don't. Oh, no.
yep,
Okay, perfect.
no
I did.
problem.
Yep,
Yeah,
no, I will definitely go to that, Tiffany, and I'll
okay.
go ahead and it's hard to find good information. My husband and I have been following Gary Brecker
Uh-huh.
as one of them. Yeah, he's
Uh-huh.
very good, very informative, explanatory.
Yep.
Yeah, Mark McDonald's another one we like
Mm-hmm.
to follow. So we're just trying to get rid of the garbage on YouTube and listening to science-based
Yeah.
research
I know,
research.
and
So
I like that Gary Brecka too.
yes.
He's biology. I think that's my undergrad, and so I like the biochemistry and the I think that's what we need to look at when we're looking at health and nutrition and getting ourselves back back on line with our health. We have to get rid of some of the noise that's out there in,
And there's a
social
lot of
media.
noise.
There's a lot of noise. It's just, again, like with
Yeah.
foods, get back to basics. And
Yeah.
your food intake sounds like it's very back to basics. It's nice and clean and well balanced and all that. And that's what we have to get to. And it just takes effort. That's the hard part, the human part of it that makes it a little harder to
Yeah.
sustain. So,
And
um,
what do you recommend a good channel or something for us to go and watch? Because my husband was diagnosed with diabetes a year and a half ago, so I've had to change our whole lifestyle.
mhm,
However, I'm not diabetic, so there are certain nutrients that I must eat that
mhm.
he can't, certain things. So just trying to figure out that balance between him being a diabetic and me needing to bring my cholesterol down and losing weight. But one that's nutritionally safe, you know what I mean,
Yeah,
rather than processed.
I think that your diets can actually come very similar. I don't think it has to be so different.
No, it's
Um,
not.
yeah, I actually I do talk a lot about blood sugar and that kind of thing, and I work with diabetics. I have a CGM program that I've worked with type 2 with
Hmm.
insulin
Yeah, he's
resistant
type 2.
people. So I like on my channel, I do talk a lot about that. I don't know of a specific diabetes person off the top of my head. Um,
Well,
so
just
sorry.
something I can go to get ideas for meals,
Oh, okay.
um, rather than getting stuck in the whole cycle of my husband's a creature of habit and eats chicken and salad every single day at work,
Hmm.
and I'm not that person. I can't do that. I have to have variety.
Yeah.
So, but just trying to find that balance between what he needs and what I need. Just trying to find a
Yeah.
good food channel or a food, on YouTube or something.
Yeah, I can't think of one off the top of my
Okay,
head specifically, sorry. Um
that's okay.
yeah, so I do for anybody else that's still on, if you have anybody else have any other questions? I'll just take a look here if there's any, or even if you chat and there's nothing in the chat, you can unmute yourself if you have a question. Um, but yeah, you can follow me at these places, and I do work with insurance. So if you would like more one-on-one detailed guided support, you can see what your plan covers. I have so many people that have, especially with Blue Cross Blue Shield, it's $0 out of pocket. There's not even a copay. They have unlimited visits. It's pretty incredible coverage if that's something that resonates with you, if you want more
Mhm.
direct help. And if you are struggling with some of these, other diagnoses that you might need help with. Um, no, sorry about that, Francis. I don't have health partners. I'm trying to. I've been working with that for 6 months to get credentialed with them. So I don't.
Don't give up.
Yeah, I do. I know. So it's so frustrating. I don't understand. I do private pay and stuff like that too, but yes, I'm a licensed nutritionist, Darla. I'm a licensed nutritionist. Yep. So, yes, I am licensed under the same body as a licensed dietitian.
So just to back up,
Yeah,
Tiffany, so you're saying you accept Blue Cross Blue Shield, Alina, Aetna, and more. What
yeah.
does that mean? I'm not sure what that means. Do I have Blue Cross Blue Shield? So that means I can have appointments with you and I don't get charged for it?
Well, it depends on your plan coverage. So,
Okay.
every plan is a little different. If people who
Okay.
are interested in looking at that, I can send them a link and they can fill
Check
out a
insurance.
form. I can call to verify benefits, and then we see what coverage is, and then that's when people can decide to work. So far with Blue Cross Blue Shield, I haven't had anybody even have a copay, like I said, but some people might have a copay. I just haven't come across
Right.
that yet. If you have Blue Cross Blue Shield Federal, it's like awesome. I've got a
Have,
couple
have you
people right
come
now.
across Blue Cross Blue Shield Aware?
Yeah, I believe I'm in network with Aware. I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah. So, and every plan is different. So I always call and verify the benefits and checking with that. So, but yeah, it's been good. And like I said, I do cash pay too. I don't do only insurance calls, but um, it's really nice when it can cover it though for people.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. most definitely. Well,
Yeah.
thank you. This was
Yeah.
wonderful. Very helpful.
I'm glad it's been helpful. Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, reach out, and you can also email me at it's Tiffany, and then it's at rockbottomwellness.com if you want to email me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Perfect.
if you have any questions. So, all right. Well, have a great night, everybody.
Wonderful.
Thanks for being here. All right. Oh, wait, one more chat.
Wonderful. Thanks,
Yeah.
Tiffany. Bye
You're
bye.
welcome. You're welcome, Christy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tiffany.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.